It's the black guy in the corner, but they'd rather see a on the corner. They say I'm stealing Nick's clips like I'm stealing Nick's chick, not knowing that I hit him first week for the lick. I said, Nick, I could post here while you post there. Let's run the ads up, then let's meet up over there.
Good evening, everybody. You're watching America First. My name is Nicholas J. Fuentes. We have a great show for you tonight. Very excited to be back here with you tonight on Thursday. We have a lot to talk about tonight, lots to get into. Big show. Sorry I'm late. I had to wake up really early for this other show, and I'm not really built for that, honestly. I had to wake up at 9 a.m. to do Steven Crowder this morning. 9 a.m.? Are you kidding me? I don't even remember the last time I woke up that early. Must have been like high school. 6:30 a.m., get on the bus, 7:45. It's totally insane. It's totally crazy. Who does the show at 10 a.m.? Who's even awake? Besides like teachers and like the tollway or something. Anyway, so I had to take a nap, as you know, and now I'm awake and I'm wired and I'm ready to go. The show happens when it's meant to happen. That's how I feel. You can't rush a great show. The finest show is when I'm really ready, like I'm dialed in for it. So I really took my time. It's 12:41 a.m. I remember I was like on the couch at like 7 p.m. and I kept setting alarms like 7:10, 7:30, 7:45, 8:20, 9:30. So I kept setting alarms. And then finally I was like, you know, I think this is the time. I think I'm ready now. So we're ready, and we're going to have a great show. Our featured story tonight, we're talking all about Candace Owens. My girlfriend is at it again. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what to tell you. She doesn't listen. Candace Owens is back in the news. What's going on? So she finally got everything she wanted. She has been spreading so much malicious disinformation that it's ripping the country apart. It's creating a national emergency. She's making me actually start to drift to the left. Because for so many years, they said, disinformation, misinformation, you're a grifter pushing misinformation. And I said, they're just trying to suppress free speech. And then Candace Owens starts a YouTube channel, and it's like, I had a dream about a beekeeper and all the people in the maroon shirts and these Egyptian planes. And there's like 10 million people that are totally into this. It's like, we got a problem. We have a real, this is like, it's actually a little scary. So anyway, she finally got what she wanted. She drove Turning Point USA to the point with her malicious disinformation. Finally, where Turning Point said they're going to do a live stream and they're going to explain themselves. They're going to justify why they didn't kill their own boss. That's how insane this has gotten. Everybody is so whipped up about this that Turning Point USA is going to host their own live stream, and all of these people who are friends with Charlie Kirk in real life, who were probably there at his wedding, at his children's baptism, or well, I don't know how they do it as Protestants, but his closest friends, his wife, they're going to get on a live stream and explain for all these psychos why they didn't murder their own boss with France and Israel and Egypt and the United States and people in maroon shirts and the Beekeeper Society. And so, and this is like, we got to give her credit. It's a huge win for Candace. She wanted disclosure. She wanted transparency. She's getting it. Turning Point answered her questions on a brief video, and they announced this live stream where they're going to give a formal response. Okay, you won. You did it. Even better. Turning Point says she's invited to come to the live stream. Okay. Home run. Easiest victory ever. It's free. It's free. She's been pushing them for 3 months to answer the questions, and they set her up for like, this has got to be, if it happens, the most anticipated live stream of the year. She has had the biggest show in this final quarter, millions of views on YouTube, on Spotify, on X. And if she goes to Turning Point and she puts the screws in them, she is either going to blow the lid on the whole thing, and credit where it's due, she will be the #1 journalist of the century. Or we find out, we get to the bottom of it, that Turning Point was not complicit in the murder of Charlie Kirk. And nobody could say then that we didn't do our due diligence because you got Candace there. So everybody could breathe a sigh of relief. And I think that's a victory for her too, because then she gets to say, well, I discovered the truth. But we find out today she's not going to go. I'm sure you've all seen this. Turning Point says they're going to do a live stream. They're going to answer all the questions about Charlie Kirk. They invite her to show up. She says, challenge accepted. Name the time, name the place. We don't need to plan it out. Let's just do it. They say, okay, December 15th. She goes, oh, but that's a bad day for me. I can't do it then. Can I Skype in? Can I Zoom? We can't. What are we doing here? And I said it on Telegram. You actually just have to admire the audacity. This woman has gone in every single day for 3 months, and she has dragged everybody, and like every country, the wife, the friends, the company, the government, the FBI, Israel, France, Egypt. She's dragged everybody through this, whatever you want to call it, this investigation. It's served up to her on a silver platter. All right, uncle, we give up. We're losing to disinformation and mass hysteria. The open society is failing. Mass psychosis has taken hold over the nation. Fine, we'll do a live stream. We'll justify why we didn't kill our boss, and you can ask us anything you want. Just show up. And she goes, I can't that day. Honestly, what else do you have going on? This is your job. You're a YouTuber. She acts like she's a wagey, like, oh, I got to check with my boss. This is your job. This has been your obsession and crusade for 3 months. Literally, what could you have going on? And I see some people already defending. They say, well, you'd understand if you had kids, it's Christmas time. Okay, I think you get a special dispensation. First of all, it's the 15th. People are working and going to school right up until Christmas Eve sometimes. It's 10 days before Christmas, okay? Second of all, I think her family would understand. Her whole family's dragged. I think her family would understand. Maybe we could reschedule the family Christmas party to the 17th, the 19th. Go and do what you got to do. People will defend anything, I guess. But then it gets better. She says, well, I'm not going to go to Phoenix in person. I'll live stream their live stream. So you're too busy to go in person, but you're not busy enough to live stream the event from your house? Does that even make sense to anybody? You can't cancel your show talking about Charlie Kirk's death to go to Turning Point to ask them about Charlie Kirk's death because you're too busy doing your show. This is why crazy, they make the whole world crazy. They make you sound crazy. They make you go crazy. Anyway, so we'll talk about it. That's going to be our featured story. Totally insane. I can't believe how many people are falling for it. And it just goes to show, by the way, and I don't care how much flack I get for saying this, I don't give a shit anymore. I'll tell you the truth. All I know how to do is cut through the bullshit. I'm not setting plays. I'm not strategizing. I'm too cynical about all of these two-faced liars. This low IQ conspiracy theory stuff, it's a huge problem now. It's complete irrationality. People don't even care about the truth. They have no relationship to it. And the conspiracy theory used to be the truth. It used to be the case that the government was, and big tech, was suppressing speech. And if you were a conspiracy theorist, it's because you cared about the truth. You wanted the truth to get out there about 9/11, about JFK, about whatever, all these different things. It was your commitment to the truth that led you down these rabbit holes and led you to press up against the system and maybe get censored or attacked or defamed or whatever. And now it's just become pure paranoia, pure irrationality. And it's reflexive. And we'll talk about it tonight. That'll be our main story. But it's just like, I don't get it. I really don't. I don't understand how these brain damaged old people, and it's a lot of women, it's a lot of men too, sadly, and some young people, but it's a lot of women and a lot of brain damaged old people that have been sucked up into this. I feel sorry for them. It's like QAnon. It's literally no different than the Trump cult, than QAnon. It's the same thing. And here it is. She gets invited to go to Turning Point. Isn't this this is the end game? Okay, you won. Go and ask them. You're leading the investigation. Charlie told me in a dream that he was set up and betrayed. I'm going to take the charge, blah, blah. They invite her to come and do the show. She goes, oh, I can't. And immediately people say, well, she's got kids. Well, it's Christmas. Well, what if they're going to kill her? You know, I think that if she went to Turning Point and died there, I think that would be a little too on the nose, you know? They're saying she can't go to Turning Point. They'll kill her there. It's like, this is all happening on Twitter. How would they get away with that? Does that even make any sense? I've never seen anything like it, honestly. And it's making me seriously reconsider a lot of things. Not the Jewish issue or anything like that, but you realize that a lot of this stuff has gone too far. It's hit the high water mark. Things, it was your commitment to the truth that led you down these rabbit holes and led you to press up against the system and maybe get censored or attacked or defamed or whatever. And now it's just become pure paranoia, pure irrationality. And it's reflexive. And we'll talk about it tonight. That'll be our main story. But it's just like, I don't get it. I really don't. I don't understand how these brain damaged old people, and it's a lot of women, it's a lot of men too, sadly, and some young people, but it's a lot of women and a lot of brain damaged old people that have been sucked up into this. I feel sorry for them. It's like QAnon. It's literally no different than the Trump cult, than QAnon. It's the same thing. And here it is. She gets invited to go to Turning Point. Isn't this this is the end game? Okay, you won. Go and ask them. You're leading the investigation. Charlie told me in a dream that he was set up and betrayed. I'm going to take the charge, blah, blah. They invite her to come and do the show. She goes, oh, I can't. And immediately people say, well, she's got kids. Well, it's Christmas. Well, what if they're going to kill her? You know, I think that if she went to Turning Point and died there, I think that would be a little too on the nose, you know? They're saying she can't go to Turning Point. They'll kill her there. It's like, this is all happening on Twitter. How would they get away with that? Does that even make any sense? I've never seen anything like it, honestly. And it's making me seriously reconsider a lot of things. Not the Jewish issue or anything like that, but you realize that a lot of this stuff has gone too far. It's hit the high water mark. And by that, I mean, you know, when you don't have these institutions, when you don't have anything like that, then you just there's no bottom, there's no floor for how far you fall into psychosis like this. Like, that's the only thing I could say about it. I watch her show. I don't know how people eat this stuff up. I'm watching her show. She's literally saying, this whole year I've been having visions and dreams of beekeepers. And this is literally her show. I'm like, I'm scared. I'm scared that normal people are watching this. People that I know are watching this and eating this up. It's like, it's disturbing. It's deranged. And I didn't get involved in all this for that. I didn't get involved in this to hear some like black female guru tell us about her dreams and these low IQ conspiracies. It's an insult to conspiracy theories. It's an insult to the radical right. It's a joke. And I don't want anything to do with it. And I'm glad that we had a falling out. Thank God, because I can't imagine even trying or feeling obligated to have to defend this. It's gross. So anyway, we'll get into all that. We're also going to talk tonight about Venezuela. They're ramping up in Venezuela. Looks like a war is imminent, but we'll talk about some of the details and some of the specifications. It doesn't look like there's going to be an invasion, and I'll tell you why that is. If there's going to be a military operation, it looks like it will be limited. And I think that just has to do with the troop totals down there, unless they're amassing an army of a serious size that we're not aware of. And it looks like maybe the latest development is that elements inside the government are trying to prevent this from happening. I think that the reason they are honing in on this September 2nd boat strike probably is to constrain the administration. And so it appeared that Trump was moving very fast and without any restraint towards a unilateral war in Venezuela. And by unilateral, I don't mean Washington, I mean him. Trump it looked as though he was going to single-handedly plunge us into a war without Congress, without a vote, without anything. And now it seems that there might be some pushback to maybe slow down the tempo a little bit, which I'm actually glad to see. So we'll talk about some of these latest developments. There's been a lot of them. Trump apparently held a phone call with Maduro. You've got the aircraft carrier strike group making a port call in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Serious naval posture. 25% of the active U.S. Navy is deployed off the coast of Venezuela. At the same time now, this whole week, they've been talking about these drug trafficking boat strikes and might create some serious problems for the war. So we'll talk about all that. Before we get into it, I want to remind you to smash the follow button, smash the like button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the show. Check out the store, Fuentes.store. Get your Wang Half shirt. White ass niggas going hard as fuck. That's just, honestly, I identify more as this than anything at this stage in the game. There is so much deception, so many lies. And my experience with Tucker, honestly, it freaks me out. Because that guy's an operative. No relationship with the truth at all. Total skin suit, fakeoid, alien. And so I don't know what that operation was about, bringing me on. All I know is I'm a white ass nigga going hard as fuck. So these elites, these rich people, these feds, these gay feds like Tucker, they can try to tie us up in knots and their deception, these convoluted narratives. We don't care. We're going hard as fuck. We're some white niggas. What do we have to lose? Fuck it, you know? So that's why I wear the shirt. It's the anthem. We also have the hats. We're catching up. We're really catching up. We're making a Herculean effort to get these hats out on time. So Fuentes.store. Subscribe to the website, americafirst.plus, $15 a month to get access to the archive every episode of the show. $100 a month to get access to the group chat. If I don't do a show, I'm in the group chat. So I didn't do a show last night, but I was in the group chat dropping insider information about Chuck Johnson. Okay? And about other things, about Crowder, about a lot of things. A lot of things. A lot of insider baseball, a lot of inside knowledge. So America First, .plus, check it out. Yeah, it's a little bit late. I didn't do a show last night. It's just been a very slow week. I feel like nothing has been happening in the news at all. So I didn't do a show last night. I was a little tired, and I was thinking about canceling tonight. Again, there's like nothing in the news, but I said I can't skip so much of the show. But also, before we get into the news, I had this major collaboration with Steven Crowder this morning, and I hope y'all tuned in. I thought it was great. We had a pretty solid viewership. I think there were 85,000 people watching on Rumble. I don't know how many on YouTube. But I thought it went really great. I was very pleasantly surprised. I had no idea what to expect. And him and I have both said negative things about each other in the past. And so, like with everything else, I had no idea if it was going to be a confrontation, if it was going to be hostile. But they emailed me and they said, it's going to be a discussion. We want you to flesh out your views. I said, well, I'm happy to do it. So I went on the show, and you can watch it. It's on Rumble. It's on Steven Crowder's channel. It's on YouTube as well. And I was very pleasantly surprised. I was surprised at how well I got along with him. I didn't think I would, to tell you the truth, but I did. And I thought he was very congenial and very nice and fair. And we didn't agree on everything. I actually really liked the interview because we had a serious disagreement and heated. It almost got heated, but it wasn't personal. It wasn't personal. It wasn't name calling. It wasn't vicious. We have a strong disagreement. I think he would call himself more of a conservative, and I'm a reactionary. I am more radical. And I don't say that to one-up him, but I just am. I'm more radical in my tactics. I think my ideology is more radical. And we had a pretty intense disagreement about Trump and about how we move forward with Trump. And he was pressing me, and I pushed back a little bit. But you know what? It was a good faith disagreement, and I like that. I have no problem with that. I actually invite it. I welcome it. Because I love to talk about ideas. What I don't like is when people say, oh, you're not saying what you mean. When people call me a liar, or when people do the personal stuff, or, just in general, when people act in bad faith. I'm even okay. We walk through a lot of the clips that sound bad. And I don't love doing that, but I also don't shy away from it. If it's in good faith, I'll explain what I meant in a certain clip or things that people are unsure about. I have no problem with it. And so I really appreciated the way that he handled it. I thought it showed a lot of integrity because he could have been a real dick. Because the Groypers did show up to his events years ago, and I've said very shitty things about him. He could have been a real jerk to me, and he probably would have been justified. And it would have been better for him. It would have been easy for him to totally throw me under the bus and play games and attack me, and it would have been very easy, and it would have been unpleasant, and the Groypers would have been mad, and his people be patting him on the back. But to his credit, total class act. Completely fair, completely honest. He told me exactly how it was going to go. And then I think the way that he handled it, it was a completely fair interview. And we didn't even agree on everything, but we fleshed out where each of us stood in detail. And I think we defined those disagreements pretty clearly. And then by the end of it, it was pretty friendly. So I was very pleasantly surprised. And I don't say surprised because I think he's a bad guy, but I had no idea how it was going to go. And very rarely does it go that well. So I really like that. And I was happy to do it. So maybe we could do it again in the future. I'm not going to hold him to that. I know maybe he doesn't want to be, towards the end, he's like, yeah, don't go and say you're in the mug club or whatever. We were kind of joking about that, but no, I totally consider him to be a solid guy, stand-up guy. Nothing but nice things to say about it. I was really happy with it. So you can go and check it out. It had great reviews, too. I was going through the YouTube comments. Everybody loved it, and that made me very happy. So great interview. But that's not all. Monday, we have Piers Morgan in the morning. That one I definitely think is going to be hostile because I do think that Piers Morgan operates in bad faith. I hope he doesn't. And if he's not, I'll treat him the same way I treated Stephen. But I think it's going to be a lot of interrupting and sensational stuff, and I'm prepared for that. But that'll be on Monday. And then Thursday, I'm doing my annual stream with Richard Spencer, which we tend to do every time or every year around this time. And so that'll be kind of interesting. So we still have a big lineup ahead of us. Okay, with that out of the way, we're going to dive into the news. How do I look? I feel like I look skinny. My diet is working. I told you, I'm on this diet and it's like ruining my life. It's making me want to commit suicide. I'm just so hungry all the time. But you know what? I think it's paying off. I was looking at myself before I started the show. You tell me, what do you think? I don't want to slouch. What do you think? I think I'm getting, it's when it starts to pay off, that's when it makes it worth it. Anyway, so that's just been I've been on this diet all week and I've been miserable. All right. But let's get into it. We're going to dive into our featured story here. Our first story is about Candace Owens, and where even to begin with this? Well, we'll talk about the events from this week. So as you know, Candace Owens has been on a crusade. She has been a woman possessed, obsessed with getting to the bottom of Charlie Kirk's assassination. She believes there was a conspiracy to kill him, an elaborate conspiracy that involved multiple governments and multiple law enforcement agencies and people inside Charlie Kirk's organization. This is her theory. This is her conjecture. As you know, for 3 months, she has done, I think almost every single show that she has done has been about this. She has deputized her millions of followers to help her in this investigation, and they have left no stone unturned. They've looked at, apparently, the report by the attending physician. They have looked at the tunnels, the utility hatch underneath the tent. They have looked at every angle of video showing the assassination. They have looked at the SD cards and the cameras from Turning Point. They have looked at everybody in the audience, the person that asked the final question. They've looked at Turning Point personnel. They brought in flight logs from an Egyptian military aircraft, or multiple Egyptian military aircraft. And they are alleging, her and her followers are alleging, that this is a truly multilateral conspiracy involving the FBI, the Utah police, Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's wife, his best friends, his business associates, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, the French government, the Israeli government, the Egyptian government, the Mossad. Like, this is the theory, that this is a conspiracy involving maybe hundreds of people, maybe thousands, dozens of people in Provo, Utah that day. Like I said, people in these law enforcement intelligence agencies at the highest levels of government. She's alleging there is a vast conspiracy to kill Charlie Kirk. Why? Who knows? Ostensibly, they say it was to shut him up because he was about to turn against Israel. They say that's why. With that in mind, Turning Point USA hosted an event with Tucker Carlson a few weeks after he died. And then Tucker did a show with me. So how does that make sense? Last I checked, Tucker is going to be at America Fest in December. So how do you explain that? The FBI, the French, the Israelis, the United States, Turning Point, the Mormons, they killed Charlie because he refused to disavow Tucker. Now that Charlie's out of the picture, they're going to bring Tucker to their events? And Tucker's going to do a show with me? And then he's going to go to America Fest and headline? It doesn't even make any sense. Anyway, we're not going to litigate that theory, but this has been the theory. And it is, in my opinion, done a lot of damage to the country because there are millions of people that are watching this and they seem to be completely divorced from reality. We're 3 months in and there seems to be no evidence at all. And much of the evidence is wrong. For example, she talks about this Egyptian military plane and she got the time zone wrong because she didn't know what UTC meant. She thought it meant Utah time. And so she had an Egyptian plane present during the assassination and leaving afterward, but she misplaced it because she got the time zone wrong. And when people corrected her, she came out and said, well, you correcting me proves that I'm right because you wouldn't care if I wasn't over the target. And it's things like that that freak me out because it's like, if you're right, you're over the target. If you're wrong, you're also over the target. She comes out with this conspiracy that France is trying to kill her. She says, France is trying to kill me. Then she comes out and says, the French government didn't respond. The American government didn't respond. Suspicious. But didn't she say months ago that when the Israeli government responded to claims that they killed Charlie Kirk, that was suspicious too? So if they say something, they're in on it. If they say nothing, they're in on it. It's this confirmation bias. No matter what the outcome is, whether the facts are right or wrong, or whether they never arrive at all, it always furthers, oh, well, they wouldn't do that unless, oh, well, that's really weird, isn't it? Just asking questions. There's always just this insinuation. There's never actually anything concrete or tangible or real. I don't even think there's a coherent theory at this point that explains it from point A to point B. It's just a sort of general, every permutation is simultaneously true all at once. And that's just not intellectually rigorous, and it's not serious, and it's not honest. And anyway, I think this is doing profound damage to the country. I think it's disturbing. I think it's weird that millions of people are watching this and they're buying into this psychosis. And it has gotten to the point now where the people that are being implicated in the conspiracy, I'm sure they're being harassed in their real life. She's going on a show that millions of people watch, and she's naming private individuals and inciting her followers to harass these people. Whether it's people that, there's like a state representative and there's people in the audience and the guy that asks a question and Turning Point USA itself. And you know me, I don't love Turning Point and I don't love the people in there and I don't trust them. I don't trust Andrew Colvett. I mean, the guy's a spook and I could tell you all about Andrew Colvett. I don't trust him for 2 seconds. Blake Neff, he seems a little better. Jack Posobiec, I think, is a Fed. So I don't really trust any of those people there. But with that being said, these are all people that were friends with Charlie Kirk, worked with Charlie Kirk. They're being accused of killing him. And these millions of people are being deputized to go and harass them and attack them and say that they're in on this big thing, really with no evidence. And so finally, Turning Point USA comes out with a statement earlier this week, and Blake Neff makes the statement. And Blake Neff was really the mastermind behind the Charlie Kirk podcast. He used to be a writer for Tucker Carlson. And Blake Neff comes out with a statement and says, we're going to do a live stream. It's a formal response. He says Turning Point is going to, I don't know if they're going to bring together a panel, but they said they're going to address all the allegations piece by piece, and they're going to formally respond to all the allegations. And they even addressed some with specificity in this announcement. They talked about the personnel that arranged the campus tour. They talked about the date of the campus tour and where it was, and the personnel that were involved in planning the whole thing. And so they went through and debunked a few things and said, we're going to give a complete and formal and full response later in the month. And this is the best part, they say Candace is invited. She can come to the studio, she can be on the live stream and ask us anything. And I thought, wow, what a great opportunity. And honestly, I would watch that. This is a victory. It's a huge win. Because if you're pushing for the truth, if you're pushing for transparency, for exposure, then how do you do better than this? They're inviting you to do it live, in person, so you can't hide on a live stream. If it's going out live, they can't edit it. They can't change it in post-production. And if it's in person, then you're not going to have any concern about AI, about people in an earpiece, because that's always the concern when you do it remote, is that if you're in a different studio, then there's always suspicion. People are going to say, well, who's in the earpiece? Is there a teleprompter? Are they being fed something in real time in this day and age by AI? It makes it not fair. I'm a big believer in that. So this is like the perfect setup. I mean, it's on a silver platter. They said, we're going to answer every question. And you are invited live in person. We'll stream it and you can ask anything. That's a giant victory, because even if you're someone like myself that believes that Turning Point was not involved in it, this is due diligence. This is transparency. If you had any questions about it, you would want this, because this is going to bring the facts to light. And by the way, I will say, even as somebody that disagrees vehemently with Candace and what she's doing, and I don't even like her, it is unironically a victory for her. Now, I think that how she achieved this was a reckless disregard for the truth. That being said, she got it. She got the show, and I would watch it, and I would watch it with an open mind. And if you care about the truth, you would say, yeah, go to the headquarters, and we'll find out. If you're right, we will apologize. If you're right, then I will eat this hat. I will eat this hat on the show. And I will apologize and say, you know what? She was right all along. And she's the journalist of the century because she exposed this. She forced them to be transparent, and then she got them on the stream. I'd be the first one, honest to God. I think she should do it. And if she's proven wrong, well, then at the minimum, if you're a defender, you could say, well, she got transparency. She fought for the truth when no one else fought as hard. And whether it goes her way or it doesn't go her way, everyone is better off, because now we know the answers. We have more information than when we started, and that's good. And it might hurt her pride. It might hurt her ego. And it might discredit her. But you know what? There's a way that she could spin that, and she could say, well, you know what? We pushed and we got to the bottom of it. But you have to do it. So they tell her, you can come out and you can go to the studio. We'll do a live, ask anything. You can respond in 24 hours, I think they said. And so Candace goes on her show and she says, name the time, name the place. I'll do it. Let's do it tomorrow. We don't have to plan it. We don't need lawyers. Let's just do it, because I care about the truth. So at midnight last night, Turning Point puts out a statement. This is what they say. This is Blake Neff. Blake Neff says, quote, the live stream we announced on the show Wednesday has been set at 4 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. local time on Monday, December 15th. A collection of Charlie's friends will respond to statements made by Candace Owens to set the record straight once and for all prior to the opening of America First, which is this is their big conference, which is going to take place like a day later. He says, we'll be live streaming from Charlie's Phoenix studio. Our offer from yesterday holds. If Candace wishes to join us in person in Phoenix, she is welcome to do so. She can let us know by the end of the day. Beautiful. Perfect. If I'm Candace Owens, I am jumping on a private jet and I'm there. She's got that kind of money. Her husband's loaded. She makes millions of dollars from her YouTube channel. You know how loaded her family is? Her father-in-law is this loaded commodities trader. He's one of the biggest donors for the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom. And Candace has donors too, like John Mappin, or is it John? I know that John Mappin would pay for her private flight, the Scientologist that introduced her to her husband, George Farmer. John Mappin, the Scientologist who descends from the family that makes the jewels for the British crown. John Mappin, the man that takes credit for introducing her and her husband at Turning Point UK, the organization that he funded, that launched at an event that he hosted. I'm sure that Mappin would love to pay for that flight. He's been writing letters about her, writing Substack posts, and she's been retweeting him. He would pay for the private jet. She could literally take a private jet armed to the teeth with a private security force, and she could arrange that. It's in 10 days. This was her response. She says, quote, "Kind of weird how you didn't email or call me to ask about times or availability and chose to instead tweet this confirmation out at midnight." Really? Why am I learning about this on X? Why am I learning about this? I love the Karen tone. She's such a bitch, it's unbelievable. It's not why did you do this? It's why am I learning about this on X? She reminds me of every mom in my Midwestern town. Every one of those snooty, why am I learning about this on X? She says, December 15th does not work in person, and 2 p.m. is also the literal time I do my podcast every day, which you knew. But we will happily cancel the daily podcast and join you guys virtually instead for the live stream on the 15th. If that works on your end, let's lock it in. And I love, this is the Candace Owens MO. It's to find things that are completely arbitrary and then just vaguely insinuate that there's something conspiratorial. So she says, kind of weird how you didn't email or call me to ask about times. What's weird about that? Didn't you say on your show, on your own show, name the time, name the place, we don't need to plan it, we don't need lawyers, just say it? And so they go on Twitter and say, well, this is when we're doing the live stream and you're welcome to join us. And she goes, kind of weird. Not weird, no, it's kind of weird. I'm sorry, what's weird about that? You think they're gonna send you an email after you accuse them of killing their boss? And you said yourself you're not going to go through lawyers, so how exactly did you want it? Did you want it carried by a messenger pigeon? She goes, why am I finding out about this on X? This is really weird. Why didn't you call me? Call you? You're telling them that they killed their boss. You think they're going to say, hey, Candace, hi, hope you're doing well. So we're thinking of doing this live stream defending ourselves from the allegation that we're working with France and Israel to kill our own boss and friend, that you're telling millions of people with no evidence. Well, when did you want to do that? What works for, how do you think that's going to go? She goes, why am I learning about it on X? Then she says, you chose to tweet this confirmation out at midnight. Again, okay, so what? When were they supposed to tweet it out? During business hours? You're only supposed to respond to these things during business hours. You know, it's the 21st century. People are up at midnight. We're on social media. You're up at midnight. I mean, what are you talking about? Isn't it weird that they posted it on Twitter and at midnight? No, not really. What, is that part of the French connection too? It's like with the text messages on Discord. El Reeve is pressing her saying, how do you know the text messages are fake? And she goes, they don't have any timestamps. Okay, so? El Reeve said, do you have any evidence they're fake? She goes, no. Okay. Then she goes and says, it doesn't work in person. Okay, why not? Genuinely, what excuse do you have? Anyway, we'll get into that in a minute. Suffice to say, she says, I can't make it in person, but let's do a stream. So Blake responds. He says, yesterday we made it clear that we would be scheduling a formal response to the allegations and accusations you have made. We've decided that response will be delivered during a live stream on December 15th. Thank you for your response, letting us know you will not be joining the in-person conversation. We will proceed without you. She replies, it has been decided by the public that the best response for this is for my team to live stream your live stream and provide commentary. Since you already picked our regular podcasting time, we look forward to providing live responses to your once and for all answers. And if we could just back it up for a minute, if you actually watch Blake Neff's statement on Wednesday, he said exactly that. He said, we have to respond to these allegations because they won't let it go. He said, we're going to issue a formal response. We're going to do it live in the studio later in the month. We'll announce it soon. He said, and Candace is welcome to join us. He didn't say, we're going to call her up and have a live debate over Zoom. He said, we are forced to respond to the allegations. We're going to do it here in the studio live later in the month. We're going to pick a time, and she is welcome to join us. That's what he said. And then what she said is, name the time, name the place. We don't need to plan it. We don't need lawyers. Let's do it tomorrow. Let's do it anytime. They announce on Twitter, we're doing our stream on the 15th. You're welcome to join us. She comes out and says, I can't do that. What about it? Then she changes the deal. She insinuates there's funny business, even though there's nothing funny about that at all. That's what he said. That's what you said. Oh, this is really weird. This is really strange. Why'd you say it at midnight? That's when I'm doing my show. Your show is about this. It's about this. She goes, and anyway, I can't do it in person. That's no good. No excuse given. You know, it'd be one thing. And by the way, I think you kind of owe it to your audience. It'd be one thing if she said, who even knows? Like, I don't know, I'm going to my dad's funeral or something. Like, if there was some excuse, I think we're owed that, but not even an excuse. Oh, that's no good for me. How about Zoom? Changes the deal. And Blake comes out and says, well, that's not really what we said. This is when we're doing it, and you can come, and if you're not going to come, then okay, we'll proceed without you. She comes back and says, well, I'll live stream the live stream. And you go, so what's really the whole point of all this? This is what you wanted. This is transparency. You're so busy that you can't fly out and do it. And by the way, she has been talking about this assassination, milking it every day for 3 months. And it truly is milking it. These like cliffhangers, the clickbait. She's been withholding evidence the whole time. She's withholding lots of things that she says, well, I'm going to wait to put this out. I'm going to wait to tell you everything Charlie told me in my dream. And every week it's, you got to tune in tomorrow. I just got a groundbreaking. Every week it's a groundbreaking discovery, and it never really is. She's been milking this for 3 months to her personal enrichment and self-aggrandizement. She has gotten millions of subscribers and views, probably millions of dollars, at the minimum, hundreds of thousands of dollars in 3 months. Her podcast has skyrocketed to the top off of this. And she claims that she is obsessively, that she will not let it go. She is obsessed with getting to the bottom of this conspiracy because she sees herself as in the middle of a spiritual, cosmic, intercontinental political battle that involves the French government, the Israeli government, the U.S. government. Charlie is communing with her in dreams. She's having visions about it. So she's at the center of a global satanic conspiracy. It's entered into the spiritual realm. She has been appointed or anointed to do this because she was Charlie's friend, and she's not like all these people that betrayed him. She's an angel. Everyone else is two-faced. She is perfect. So she's the only one that's going to do this. And that's why she's hell-bent on doing this show and this song and dance every day to get the truth, to get to the bottom of it for her friend. Okay. Well, she's been alleging that Turning Point killed their own boss, that Erica might have killed her own husband, and she's now the head of Turning Point, and that his closest friends killed him. She says Charlie told her that in a dream. Apparently, she has evidence of this. She says, I'm going to name names. She says, don't play with me. I'm going to name names. I'm going to air you out. They say, all right already. Come to the studio. We'll explain it in person. Ask anything. She goes, oh, I'm busy that day. What could you possibly be busy with? If everything you're saying is true, what could possibly be more important? Because in your own words, this is about your friendship with Charlie. This is about the relationship between France and the United States. They're making an attempt on your life, allegedly. You're being told messages in dreams. God and the dead are communicating to you in visions and in dreams to do this. What could be more important? Honestly. And she says, well, I'm too busy to go in person, but I'm going to live stream it. So you're not busy on the actual day because you're going to live stream their live stream. You're going to live stream the live stream that you can't attend in person. So you're not that busy. So what is it that you have going on in the morning? It's like a 3-hour flight from Nashville to Phoenix. It's not a long flight. And what time are they doing it locally? They're doing it 2 p.m. local time. So you can't catch a flight at 11 a.m. on that morning and then fly back? It doesn't even make any sense. You can do your own stream in your own house. So you got something going on in the morning or the afternoon, like you could squeeze in a stream about the stream, but you can't make a quick trip over there on a private jet? She said, oh, I can't make it. So what could be more important? Then people say, well, maybe she's worried about her life. She's worried about being killed. Okay, I understand that. I was worried that Tucker Carlson might kill me when I did his show, but I went. You sort of have to go. If you're going to be a martyr, that's part of it. You have to be courageous. You have to be brave. You're not courageous and brave for going and beating your chest and doing all these things. And then you get the opportunity that you have to act on and you say, oh, I'm afraid. No, you have to step up and face the music. I'll add, maybe you don't find that convincing. If she's so afraid for her life, why was she at Tucker Carlson's Christmas party in Nashville last night? Why was she at Dollywood on Thanksgiving, the theme park? So allegedly, the French government and the Israeli intelligence have put a hit out on you. They've paid millions of dollars to kill you, but you're walking around a theme park in your town. You're walking around, for those that don't know, Dollywood, Dollyland. It's like Dolly Parton's Disney World. You're walking around Disney World? You're walking around an amusement park in your hometown on the holiday weekend when allegedly everyone's trying to kill you? Then you go to a Christmas party with Tucker Carlson in the same city attended by hundreds of people, and people know you're going to be there with Tucker and all the based people in one room, but you can't go to Turning Point where everybody knows you're going to be. And if anything happened to you, God forbid, they would immediately blame Turning Point. It doesn't even make any sense. So she says, I'm going to live stream the live stream and I'm going to fact check it in real time. Why? I think we all know why. She's totally full of shit. She doesn't care about the truth. If she did, she would go, no matter the cost. If she were really courageous and a truth teller, she would bootstrap it and she would say, wish me luck. She would kiss her husband when she walks out the door and say, it might not be coming back. And she would go and just fully send it and do it. Because if this is really, as she says, of cosmic, spiritual, geopolitical significance, you have to. And it's being offered up on a silver platter. You just have to. After talking all this shit, driving everybody against each other for the past 3 months, you got to do it. So clearly she doesn't believe what she's saying as far as the significance of all of this. Secondly, I don't think she believes what she's saying about Turning Point. Why does she not want to go in person? Because if she goes in person, she might get caught on the back foot. She might find out that her whole theory was wrong and that all of her facts are wrong, and she might not be able to explain herself. If she's at home, she's not under pressure. What's more, she's got her producer in her ear, like she did when I was on her show, like she does on all her shows. What's the producer's name? Skylar? She's going to have Skylar in her ear. So when she mispronounces something or she gets something wrong, she's going to say, Skylar, what was that? And Skylar can be on AI. Skylar can be on Twitter, and he can help her out. She can have air support. That's what this is about. And so she knows, first of all, it's obviously she does not mean what she says. It is not that important to her. And she does not have the courage of her convictions. She knows she's going to melt at turning point. She needs backup. So then she's going to engage in yet another lie. And then she's going to gaslight the world and say, oh, I'm not a coward. It's not that I don't have the courage of my convictions. It's they are being weird. They're being weird. I'm not backing down. They said we're going to do a stream. You said name the time and place. They did. Now you're saying you can't go in person, but you can live stream it. And we all know why that is. But then she'll turn around and say, oh, I'm not a coward. They're just being weird. They announced it at midnight, so that's why I can't go. You can't go because they announced it at midnight? You can't go because you're seeing this on Twitter and not in your inbox? I mean, what are you even talking about? And so this is where it's like, if you're still on this train, I honestly have no respect for you. If you're still on board after this, I don't know how anybody can buy in. And like I said, I'm not saying this for rhetorical effect. I would actually love to see her talk to Turning Point, because there's not a losing scenario there. If she goes to Turning Point, we're either going to find out that she was right all along. She's going to bring the receipts. She's going to name the names. She's going to put the screws in these people, and she is going to blow the lid on everything. And you know what? If she's right, we want to know. If she's right, I want to know that, and I want to see it. I want to see it proved. And if she's right, I will issue a public apology on video and writing. I will say, you know what? I doubted you. I didn't get it. You were right all along, blah, blah. Honest to God. And if she's wrong, then we'll know that too. We'll know that whatever the errors she made are, we will know what they are. And maybe it'll bring us closer to a bigger truth about what happened to Charlie Kirk, whether it was Tyler Robinson or some other thing went on, or maybe Turning Point wasn't in on it. We'll know more. And I think everybody wants to see it. We want to see, she's been building the energy for 3 months. This is supposed to be the climactic, like jury trial, courtroom drama moment. And she goes, I can't go. Well, you know what? I can't take you seriously then. This is one of those moments, you just got to do it. Put up or shut up. You talk all this shit. She's on her show every day, bobbing her head, all cocky. I'm going to name names, and you better not mess with me because I got the receipts, and I'm going to name the names. That doesn't fit with my timeline. And, you know, she's doing every day. She's doing this bullshit. Finally, they say, all right, you know what? Fine. Come to Turning Point. Let's just do a live stream then. Ask us anything. She goes, oh, I can't do it that day. You know what? Then fuck you. Then you're just a malicious operative. That is pure malice. There's just no excuse for that. And I'm hearing excuses. People say it's the holidays. She's got kids. She could get assassinated. None of that adds up. That's all bullshit. And everybody knows that. It's all a load of fucking bullshit. Everybody knows that if Ben Shapiro called me up and said, let's debate, I would be on the next flight to debate Ben Shapiro. And it's not even comparable because I don't do a show every single day, motherfucking Ben Shapiro, for 3 months. I have a feud with him. But you know, if Trump asked me to be on a stream, if Vance put me on a stream, if Shapiro, you know, even if I didn't have complete confidence, I would be nervous, but I would send it. I'd say, I did it with Tucker. Tucker's people hit me up. They said, come and do the show. I was very nervous. I thought he might kill me. But I said, I can't. I literally told myself I can't back down. When I got the text, I was filled with apprehension and fear in the moment. But I said, I can't back down now. I will either get destroyed or it'll be okay or it'll be a triumph. I said, but I can't back down. That would be far worse. So I said, yeah, it, let's do it. They said, we'll book your travel. I don't normally let people book my travel for security, but I said, if that's what you do, that's what you do. Fine. And I let him book all my stuff. And I went, and I was nervous about it, and I was uneasy the entire time, but I went and I steeled myself and did it. And that's what you have to do, because I actually care. If I go and I'm attacking Tucker and I'm saying, you know what, man, bring me on the show then. Bring me on the show. You want a piece of me? Let's do it. When he said, let's do a show, I said, name the time, name the place. They gave me dates. I picked one. We went out there. We did it. I think they hit me up on October 5th, and I came out on October 29th. So I had a little bit more notice, but nevertheless, I said, fuck it. I'll go out there and I'll do it. Same thing with Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan hit me up the other day on Thanksgiving or around Thanksgiving. Come and do the show. I said, how's next Monday? So I saw that. It's just like, how do people buy into this now? I'm really disappointed in that. I mean, I can't be too disappointed because it's not a surprise, but it's like the audacity shocks even me. To drive the country apart like this, drive people to insanity over this, then you're given the opportunity to finally prove everybody wrong. And this is what she says on the show. She says, I have receipts. I'm going to name names. She's saying Tyler Boyer's a child molester. And look, I've talked to Tyler Boyer, and I don't know him really well. I wouldn't consider him a friend. I don't think he's molesting guys at Turning Point. And if you're going to claim that, you need extraordinary evidence, actually. You're going to need extraordinary evidence to prove that. And she says, I've got the receipts. She says Tyler Boyer is messing with young guys at Turning Point events. You don't go and they invite you to explain that. You don't go and face him? Well, what about the kids then? So, who could take that seriously? That's just like, that is malicious and harmful. To go and say a wife killed her husband, to go and say a guy is sexually abusive, to go and say Charlie was betrayed by every single one of his friends, and to tell everybody, I have the proof and I'm going to name names. They tell you, okay, bring it on. And you go, oh, I can't make it that day. Oh, please, Candace. And I said this earlier this year. I have Candace Owens fatigue. It's a species of black fatigue. People have black fatigue. I have Candace Owens fatigue. Loudmouth idiot. Total loudmouth black female narcissist retarded idiot is what she is. And a coward at that, given this. I've so had enough. So, I watched that show. I don't know how she's going to face, but you know what? The audience is going to enable that. Audience reflexively makes excuses for that. But I've had it. I just can't stand it anymore. I have absolute Candace Owens fatigue. I think the country is so sick and tired of her. It's not even smart. It's just dumb. It's just dumb and malicious. And, and I'm sick of hearing about it. So I can't wait until one of these people sues her. She really deserves it. She's got it coming. And I'm hesitant to say that because I'm close friends with Alex Jones and I hate to see Alex going through it. But at this point, it's like, and by the way, I'm going to say this also, as somebody in the information space, this is hurting all of us. And I'm not saying, it's violence or whatever, but I'm saying we're in a moment where we need truth tellers. We need people that are going to leave no stone unturned. We need people that are going to bring alternative narratives about what's happening in the world. And she is hurting us in two ways. One, she makes us all look crazy. How? Because there's all the difference in the world between looking at open secrets the website and looking at which billionaires are giving which politicians money. There's all the difference between looking at these patronage networks and who's being funded by who and which media companies are being funded by who. That's one thing. It's another thing to say, I've had visions. I'm having visions and dreams of beekeepers and Egyptian aircraft. That's totally insane. And for her to concoct this conspiracy going back to the French Revolution, and it's about Project Paperclip and MK Ultra and the Stanford prison experiment, and it's about Egypt and France and Macron and Charlie Kirk and this, and you're just making all of us look totally insane. You're a kook. And by the way, this is a real strategy. Cass Sunstein created this. Cass Sunstein worked in the Obama administration. He wrote, and I believe he's from Harvard. He's from one of the Ivy Leagues. He wrote a paper about this. He said, the way to destroy conspiracy theorists, it's not to debate them, it's not to debunk them, it's to make them look dumb by flooding the zone with crazy stuff. And so, for example, with 9/11, you've got very real evidence there. You've got the dancing Israelis, you've got the art students, you've got the text message that went out to all the Israelis. Like, you've got some real things that warrant attention. But then you have people saying the planes were holograms. Then you have people saying things like that, and they make you look crazy. That's one. Two is, in a media environment, when everybody is clamoring for censorship and to suppress disinformation, what do you think this does to those arguments? Because 10 years ago, I would say I'm a free speech absolutist. How could you censor the truth? If you're censoring it, it means it's true. Here we are 10 years later. You've got this psycho. She's getting millions of views, and she's literally deputizing her followers to, like, look at all the people in the audience, college students, like some kid in Turning Point. Find this person, find his name, interrogate. Like, that is actually reckless. It is actually reckless. There's a responsible way to do that, and then there's an irresponsible way when you just start throwing things out without evidence, whipping your followers up into a frenzy that they're fighting some satanic conspiracy, and that's why they need to go and look at this private individual or this student that asked a question. That's reckless. It's reckless and irresponsible in the way you're treating this process. It's not rigorous. It's not rigorous. There's no sense of responsibility for society. And it bolsters arguments that we shouldn't have complete free speech. It actually fortifies those arguments, because how many times do you think this nonsense will be cited in a future congressional hearing about why we can't have free speech on YouTube or why we can't have free speech on Twitter? It hurts all of us. And even with regard to the Jewish conspiracy, it doesn't help that we're trying to articulate a very clear idea of what's going on, which is that you have something like a state within a state. Jews are a transnational nation. They live across borders, and they are represented by something like a state. The organized Jewry is like a government of all the Jews in the world. And so the way they operate in the United States and Israel, it's like a state within a state. It'd be like if China was able to call on, with authority, all the Chinese people in America. You would say, well, maybe not every Chinese person will heed the call, but if the powerful ones do, it might be a problem. Like, we're trying to articulate something, I think, very supportable like that, and she comes in and says, no, it's the Stanford prison experiment and MK Ultra and Project Paperclip and the Frankists and the French Revolution. And you're like, yeah, you're making us look crazy. You're making us look like idiots. So I continue to believe this is like this little tear that she's been on. It has been one of the most damaging things to our side. People are always asking me, how do you feel about your generational run? How do you feel that everyone's red-pilled now? I think I'm always waiting for the next shoe to drop. That's how I feel. And I'm always worried that it's going to go too far. People are going to get carried away. And we're going to invite a pendulum swing back in the other direction. And I think that's what she's doing. And it's not good. So So I saw this today. I'm like, it's just unbelievable. Earlier in the year, I said my only response to Candace is just like, okay, you are so tiresome. I just look at her nonsense and I say, okay, Candace. She tells them anytime, any place. They go, okay, here's the time and place. She goes, well, that's not good for me. And that's weird that you said it at midnight. You go, okay, Candace, really? The French are trying to kill me. Really? Did you tell law enforcement? Well, I didn't submit it in any formal way. I didn't submit it in any of the formal channels. I just sent it to a buddy of mine. Okay, Candace. I have all the receipts. I'm going to name names. They invited you out there. You're not going to go? Okay. Such a ridiculous person. And whatever. She is what she is. At the minimum, she's profiting from it. What's really pathetic are the fans. What's really pathetic are the cultists. And no matter what, no matter how off she is, no matter how wrong she is, it's like a religious thing. It's like a weird, it's almost like a weird religious charismatic thing. People say that about me, but I don't think that's true because I think I'm self-deprecating and I think that, look, I get attacked all the time and I think I can admit when I'm wrong and I think that I have a pretty rigorous process. This is like a weird charismatic religious thing. It's almost strikes me as like a weird Protestant, like religious guru thing. The way that she's fashioning herself is almost like a spiritual figure. It reminds me of what it must have been like in the Middle Ages. Somebody says, you know, oh, I got a private revelation or something like that and starts to build up a following in like a village of medieval peasants. That's what it feels like. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. So, not cool. But anyway, that's that. We're going to move on. We're going to talk about Venezuela. That's very harmful. We're going to get into the situation unfolding in the Caribbean.
All right, let's get right into it. We're going to break this episode into two different segments. So we'll first discuss Nick on Candace Owens. I'm all over the place when it comes to this Candace Owens situation. I'm all over the place. And hopefully after I unpack and give my perspective on it, you guys will understand why I'm all over the place on it. Candace does invite a lot of this energy upon herself. She does invite a lot of this energy. And let me be very clear and state up front, I'm a Candace fan. I'm a Candace fan. I think it's very important for us to have people like Candace Owens. I think it's very important for us to have people like Candace Owens who are willing to go against whatever powers that be are presented and be willing to call out certain things, hold people accountable, do her own due diligence, do her own research. When she hears something that she doesn't agree with or doesn't seem to align or isn't connecting the dots, she does her due diligence. And is she going to be right on everything? No. Is she necessary? I guess that's debatable. Would I want somebody like Candace on my team if I was trying to, if something like with Charlie Kirk happened? Absolutely. We were having a conversation the other day regarding Kevin Samuels. Shout out and RIP to legend. I'm not going to take too much time, but the conversation was pretty much based on like, yo, what happened to him? They said he had a heart attack while he was having sex with a lady. It just seemed like we needed a Candace Owens in that situation. We needed a Candace Owens at the time when it came to JFK. We needed a Candace Owens at the time when it came to MLK, Malcolm X, a lot of these people. So I understand that a lot of the things that she's going to say and how she presents certain things, it's going to come across a certain type of way where it can be presented as conspiracy theory-ish. I also understand that when Candace Owens says, name a date and time and I'll be there, and then they name a date and time, and she wants to say, and she says anything other than perfect, I'll be there. I understand that that can make her look exactly how Nick is responding, that it makes her look cowardly or acting as if she doesn't have much in, her arsenal. Like it looks like she's running, looks like she's scared. And I think that actually, and I didn't even write this in the notes, but as I'm unpacking it with y'all, a lot of this is Candace's fault. A lot of this is Candace's fault. And the reason why I say it's Candace's fault, because Candace, you're calling them out saying anytime, any place. You're the journalist. In this situation, you're not a debater. You're a journalist. And there's a big difference between the two. When Nick talks about, yeah, Pierce called me up, I was on the next flight, or if Ben Shapiro calls me up, I'll be on the next flight. Nick was talking about how he moved very quickly when it came to Pierce Morgan and a lot of these other interviews that he's done where people reach out to him, he's on the next flight. And I think it's a big difference between what Nick is presenting in a lot of these interviews, where Nick is the one being interviewed. In a sense, Candace would be the interviewer. She's playing journalist in this particular role. So let's say that she goes to Turning Point USA and they say, "Oh, well, you said these things, A, B, and C. These are our thoughts on it." Candace can't even respond in real time, realistically. She can't respond in real time because everything that she's doing as a journalist, it's responsive. They say certain things, they make certain claims. Her and her team, whether it's her actual team or it's her investigators, a part of the what were they running around saying? The CIA, the Candace Intelligence Agency, whether it's her followers or whether it's her actual internal team, they have to then do their due diligence and disprove what is being said or poke the holes in the argument. So it's not realistic for Candace to go on there and sit on a live stream with Turning Point USA when they can get all of their entire story together and then say certain things. And Candace, how can she respond in real time? It's not her life. See, when Nick goes on these shows, he's debating his life. He's debating his points. And then a lot of times he's going on there to disprove the things that he already knows that they're going to throw his way. Hey, you're a misogynist. You're a racist. You said this here. You said this here when you were 18. You did this Ben Shapiro video saying that you just ran over Ben Shapiro. We know what's going to be presented. So once again, that's Candace's fault in how she presented it. Candace, you can't play debater at the same time that you're being a journalist, because you're giving debate me bro energy. And you're a journalist. You can't debate. Candace can't go on there and debate. The only thing that she can debate are the things that they've already said. So she's disproved those things or didn't disprove those things, but she's presented her argument against what has already been done or said by the Turning Point USA team. And once you do that, now they can go back and have their argument and how to disprove what you're saying. Now, it should be easy for them because these are things that they've done. So for them to respond in real time, it should be easy. Candace accuses them of doing something or something that they've said and it not aligning with the overall story, the dots aren't connecting. They can respond in real time and just say, "Oh, well, that may not have connected, but this is what happened." Boom, boom, boom. Candace can't say that didn't happen because of boom, 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 because she only can respond. You get what I'm saying? She's responsive when she's connecting her dots. They're either trying to tell a different version of their truth, lie, or just simply tell their truth. So it's not realistic, but once again, this is Candace. She gives off this energy. And I think Nick knows that it's not realistic for Candace to sit there and have a live stream conversation, because Candace is not the debater in this situation. She's actually the person that would be interviewing them. And then after you interview them, people have to do their due diligence and then have a follow-up. Candace can't have real-time follow-ups, but neither here nor there. It does look like Candace is running in this particular situation. However, she set herself up for this. She set herself up for this. She should have never said anytime, any place, I'll be there. She should have been very clear and transparent, because then when she realized, like, oh, they named a time and place. Well, what am I actually going there to prove other than the things that I've already said? And they know what I've already said. So obviously they're going to have something that disproves what I've already said or contradicts or whatever, their response to it. So I can't respond to that in real time. I'm going to then have to do my due diligence and research. So that's what happens. And Nick says that the guy Skylar, or I don't know if Skylar's a guy or a girl, but Nick was saying that usually Candace has one of her team members, Skylar, in her ear to make sure that when she's saying something that doesn't align or mispronunciate something, that she's then able to correct it. Yeah, you can't have that there. You can't have that there. So it's already an unfair situation, but she set the stage for it. She set the stage for it. And once again, I told y'all, I like Candace, But sometimes we all get in a position where we get a little bit too ahead of ourselves. We get a little bit too ahead of ourselves to where we forget the position that we're in. Yeah, Candace, you're not going there to debate. You can't debate. This is not a debate type of situation. In a debate, everyone has access to the information, and you go and you debate the different things. But no, you're being a journalist, so you got to stay in that journalist role and have a little bit less of the debate me, bro, energy. That's what I would suggest. Let me get back to the notes. Yeah, Nick said that if Ben Shapiro hit him up and said, let's debate, he'd be on the next flight. I believe that. And I also believe what Nick was describing as far as him being nervous when Tucker Carlson called him for the interview. I remember Nick going on the show saying, like, I was a little nervous. Is this person going to, I'm sending my location to people just in case something happens. I can believe that. And I also think that nervousness was just from not only from, hey, what could Tucker be setting me up for, but even having that debate that you've been calling out for a while when you're actually going to sit in front of somebody. Yeah, there's a lot of nerves that come with that. It's no different than a boxer calling out somebody for a very long time. And when they finally get the fight, okay, boom. Now it's here. Now we're going to fight. So there are some nerves associated with that. And I appreciated Nick being transparent with that. And I think that the reason why I appreciate the transparency, not just because he was being honest, but because it shows people how nerve-wracking giving your opinion and being in a space where you are using, or I guess you're an influencer or you're a political commentator, whatever description we want to use for people that do what Nick does for what I'm doing right now. You know what I'm saying? It can create a lot of nervousness when you're speaking on a lot of these topics. And then when you're getting in a position where it's like, all right, let's spar, let's fight. So, yeah. It ain't for everybody. Nick also commented on his interview with Steven Crowder. I didn't watch the entire thing, but from the beginning, I like the stage that Steven Crowder set. Everything from the initial rapid fire questions to moving forward. It seemed like it was a very respectful interview thus far. I didn't get to the point where I got to see them have some more, heated arguments, but just arguing on the topics, not making it a personal thing. I think that's what needs to happen. We need to be debating differences of opinions and perspectives and strategies, I guess, to accomplish the same thing, because a lot of times that's what we're debating on the most, and having the harshest debates with the people that we actually agree with, but we differentiate based on the strategy and accomplishing the mutual goal. So I'll definitely have to follow up with, or finish that interview out. Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think, is there anything else one thing that I want to point out is that Nick was saying that it doesn't come across that she's genuine about this death threat. She's out at Tucker Carlson's Christmas party in Nashville, where she lives. And Nick was almost implying the fact that, like, if she's willing to go out to this place, to the mall, I think he even mentioned, is she really fearful for her life? Well, one thing that I can say is my bro, he was on a plane with Candace in the midst of, not before she left the Daily Wire and had this intense or altercation or dispute, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to Israel and a lot of Zionists. She was on a regular commercial flight, just flying regularly. So to be totally fair, I think she had a mask on at the time. I don't know if she was sick or whatever it was, but my boy clearly knew that it was Candace Owens. And he said that she didn't even have any security with her, which I find hard to believe. Maybe the security wasn't in the vicinity, but, he was talking to her, asked her if she wanted him to grab her bag or whatever. But it seemed like she didn't have close security at the time. Now this may be a little bit of a difference where I don't know if she had security in some of these places where we're not aware of, but what do you expect somebody to just stay in the house just because there's a threat against them? I think her exposing it or saying it, if it is true, we don't know. But if it is true, I think her saying it and exposing it perhaps is probably the best protection that she can get, especially when she knows that she got the CIA followers, the Candace Intelligence Agency, if somebody does decide to do something to her at this point, because she's exposed it to such a large audience. Now it would look a little bit suspicious, and there would be some deep digging into it. Not to say that they couldn't justify it or, they really wanted to go ahead and do it. But that's something that I did want to point out. So I'll wrap that one up. I do have another note here that I wanted to say. So Nick said that Candace is hurting the credibility. And the one note that I have, that this, what I'm telling you right now, that's not the note that I'm smiling about. And maybe I'll touch on it after I address this. But Nick believes that, Candace is hurting the credibility of people like Nick, the people that are, let's say, the conspiracy theorists, or just the people that are willing to call out the government, call out the powers that be, call out the BS, the propaganda, the indoctrination. Nick believes that Candace doing a lot of the goofy stuff, and I'm just using goofy just to describe it. That's just how I would look at it based on what he's saying. Her doing a little bit of the extraness, the goofiness. He keeps referencing the dreams. I'm not even aware of what happened. I guess I did hear something like Candace had something on her show where something came to her in a dream. I don't know the legitimacy and all that. Even though I am a very big spiritual being, I believe that things can come to us when we dream the visions. But in this case, may not be the thing that you want to lead with. So I'm not sure exactly what that is. Now, what I was smiling about is whether or not to address. I tell you, man, the way that, and y'all know that it's true, but y'all also know that now I'm going to come across as like the person that's embracing the victimhood. I'm going to come across more liberal. The way that Nick says black, like he keeps referencing the fact that like that's a description that can't be left out when regarding Candace Owens. And this is what I've been saying on a lot of these shows. And it could be perhaps perceived as minimal and petty in me looking at it this way. But I think Nick uses Candace in a lot of ways to appease and to appeal to his base, to where he can call her a black B, right? He can call her a bitch. He can use that word black, like every time, the way that he says it, and as if it's an important description in what he's describing at that particular time. It sounds like he's saying, I'm not going to listen to a woman, and he's using the word black as if, yeah, I'm definitely not. You know what I mean? Like as if it's a factor. Like, oh, I'm discrediting this person by using not only the fact that she's a woman discussing these things, but also that it's this black woman, and then he'll call her a B. I just see the play. I don't even have a complaint on it, but I just see the play. So therefore I'm gonna call it out. I think it's a play. I think Nick uses this to appeal to his base, the same way that he'll throw the N-word out there every once in a while when it seems like Nick is coming to more of a kumbaya, Fred Hampton, bringing everybody together, Rainbow Coalition style. Maybe this, when Nick seems to be, or people may be thinking Nick's moving in that direction, it's like, boom, let me remind people who I really am. It's the same thing with Trump. I'm not going to elaborate on it too much because I spoke about it on yesterday or the previous show. So therefore I'll leave it here, and then I'll have the second video for you guys out shortly. Is that on the screen or is that on my face? I think it was on, I don't know. But I'll have the second video for you guys, the second part of the video of the America First show, focusing on Rubio, focusing on us going to Venezuela, what's going to happen with that very shortly. So as always, like, subscribe. If you're feeling real good and you want to show some love, definitely leave a comment. Let us know what I may be missing on. Let us know where I may be off on. Y'all know I announced my bias up front when it comes to Candace. So I'm expecting a lot of y'all to tell me, nah, bro, you just like Candace, so you trying to be soft on her. Perhaps. Call me out on it. Call me out on it, because look, like I tell y'all all the time, we all have biases. And although I try to be as objective as possible, the biases always play a role. So on that note, I shall see y'all on the next video. Appreciate y'all as always.
It's the black guy in the corner, but they'd rather see a nigga on the corner. They say I'm stealing Nick's clips like I'm stealing Nick's chick, not knowing that I hit him first week for the lick. I said, Nick, I could post here while you post there. Let's run the ads up, then let's meet up over there. Let's figure out a split that's honorable and fair. Tell me where you trying to take it. Bro, I'll meet you there. 1600 Penn, Wash, DC. Swear I saw the vision riding through the DMV. I envision prayers, but I could do VP. Hillbilly, Elegy, fuck, I look like JD. Shout out my cheat code, Dave and Karen raised me. And my big bro, a nuclear family.
And they don't like that strong vibe. it all that. Victimhood mentality, I can't embrace that. And everything they taught in school, assume it's all cap. Everything I said I'd be, I am that. Everything I said I'd be, I am that. Everything I said I'd be, I am that. Ain't no introduction, just some fun facts. In case you were wondering, I am that.
I know you heard me hit it 3 times for Dr. Umar. Shout out to Umar, man. We ain't kicking nobody when they down. And shout out to everybody that continues to show love, support, appreciating the message that I'm giving y'all along with the bro Nick's message. We gonna keep pushing, man. And shout out to the haters too, cause y'all in the comments heavy too. y'all the ones that gave me the inspiration to create this song. They kept saying like, who's the random black guy in the corner? I am.